Stars, honoring all recipients of the June Dwyer Castano Veritas Award. This virtual event has been organized in lieu of the annual Veritas dinner, which unfortunately had to be canceled 2 consecutive years in a row due to public health concerns. Tonight, we will celebrate all of our award recipients. This roster includes one of our most publicly recognized alumnae, Tony nominated actress Beth Fowler from the class of 1962. Founders Day is a special opportunity for us to consider the role of Mother Joseph Dunn and all of the alumni who have helped shape the history of Caldwell University. This evening, you are in for a special treat, a lively conversation featuring our special guest Beth Fowler and Professor Bob Mann of the Communications Department at Caldwell. Some of you may recall Beth's talk held on campus back in 2015. Before we start our formal program, I would like to take a moment for us to pray. We thank you, Father, for this moment, a moment to gather as a university, as a family of scholars, alumni, and friends, a moment to give thanks for the excellent work of Beth Fowler, whom we honor tonight, a moment to recognize her accomplishments and her gifts, which she has shared with for the betterment of the world, a moment to celebrate what we have been called to do, to share our own gifts, to learn, to become one in your world as we continue to serve your mission. Finally, we thank you, Father, for this moment of prayer and acknowledge that you are the giver of every good gift, and all that is yours has been generously given to us. This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad. Amen. Now it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Matthew Whalen, the ninth president of Caldwell University, who assumed his presidency in July of 2020. Dr. Whalen has extensive experience in higher education. Previously, he served as the Vice President for University Enrollment Strategy and Relationship Development at Stony Brook University, and he has extensive background in both Catholic and public higher education institutions, including St. John's University, Hofstra University, William Patterson University, and Mercyhurst College. Now, Dr. Whalen will share some brief remarks.
So, Lori, thank you very much. And thank you to all of you for joining us tonight. And Beth, a special thanks to you for coming out. I know you'll have more to say in a few minutes, but thank you, a special thanks to the sisters who have joined us, and especially the group of sisters who I saw just a minute ago who have joined us from St. Catherine. So thank you for joining us tonight. And another special thank you to someone who I saw briefly on my screen, I believe President Nancy Blattner, former President Nancy Blattner, has also joined us tonight. So Nancy, thank you, and you are welcome back to Caldwell anytime you wish. So good evening to all of you. So many of you whom I've had an opportunity to meet, and those of you who I've not yet met. And thank you for joining us in what is really a very unique virtual event in celebration and support of Founders Day. You know, as we look back over this wonderful, wonderful history at Caldwell College, several things come to mind. Margaret Mead spoke of said that never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever had. Or that Nelson Mandela, who spoke about education being the most powerful tool one can use to change the world. And if you consider those words, which underscore what has transpired over time, thanks to the Sisters of St. Dominic, those dedicated sisters, and under the leadership of Mother M. Joseph Dunn of the Dominican Order, of the Order of Preachers, those are the folks that we have to thank for where we are tonight, and that all of us can stand on the shoulders of. So their vision of establishing a Catholic college for women took 12 years to complete. Just think about that for a minute. In a world in which we live today, in instant gratification, where emails travel around the world at the blink of an eye, where things happen so quickly, sometimes too quickly, quite frankly. Think about the 12 hard years it took these sisters to build Caldwell College for Women, and to bring this college to fruition. They never abandoned their dream. Mother Joseph and the sisters never abandoned their dream, and Caldwell College for Women was incorporated as an institution of higher learning on August 10th of 1939. We owe so much to them, and we should thank them every day for the opportunity they've given all of us and all of our students and all of the students who have come to us since then. We've had a remarkable 82-year history. Caldwell College for Women, now Caldwell University, is the history is enriched immeasurably by the contributions of all of you, of all of our alumni and alumni who have taken their education and our Catholic Dominican education and those values into the world. That still happens today because of the deep, deep commitment that Mother Joseph and her sisters at the time had and stood by as it took 12 years to build this college. So tonight we celebrate all of our alumni, everybody who has contributed to the history of Caldwell College and now Caldwell University, and everyone who will contribute into the future. I've said often that my job is to prepare Caldwell University for its 100th anniversary. And that is what I get up every day thinking about, and how we can do that to bring us into our centennial. And so we celebrate all of you. And it's so enriched immeasurably by the generations of alumni who have taken their education and the Catholic Dominican education, as I said, into the world. Tonight we celebrate everybody with special recognition for our alumni and those who have received the June Dwyer Castro Veritas Award, Caldwell University's highest honor for achievements in their respective fields. I've read about some of you, I've met some of you. I am awed and I am humbled by your accomplishments. We are delighted tonight to welcome Beth Fowler, who I had an opportunity to speak with a few weeks ago, as our featured guest. Ms. Fowler, a Tony-nominated actress, earned a BA in music and music education from Caldwell College for Women in 1962, and went on to a still thriving career in stage, screen, and television. And as someone who happens to have family members who have endeavored to enter that business, what perseverance and talent it took to get Beth where you are today. In 1986, she was one of the Veritas Award's first 3 recipients for what is now known as the June Dwyer Castano Veritas Award in the category Excellence in Performing Arts. And so right now, thanks to all of you, thanks to Beth, and enough from me. And let me say, Beth, how grateful we are to you for your participation this evening. And I thank you for joining us, and thank all of you for joining us as well.
Thanks, Dr. Whalen. Tonight, as we celebrate our foundress, Mother Joseph Dunn, and our Veritas recipients, I would like to give a brief history of the June Dwyer Castano Veritas Award. In November 1985, the Caldwell College Alumni Board asked June Dwyer Castano, class of 1955, to develop a plan to honor professional excellence among alumni. The first Veritas committee was formed with alumni representing areas of organizational, artistic, public relations, social, literary, and administrative expertise. Thanks to the hard work and dedication of that committee, the first awards dinner occurred within 4 months of the call to action. The Veritas Awards Dinner is traditionally held close to Founders Day to allow alumni to join in the celebration of the college's founder, Mother Joseph. Since the dinner in 1986, 101 worthy alumni and 2 honorary alumni have been recognized by Caldwell University and their peers for upholding the finest values of our founding Dominican sisters and the Caldwell University mission. In March 2019, the renaming of the Veritas Award was announced. Thanks to a generous donation made by the Castano family in loving memory of June Dwyer Castano, and in honor of June's vision and commitment to the dinner, her legacy will now live on through the June Dwyer Castano Veritas Award. And now I am very excited to show you all a special slideshow honoring all of our past Veritas recipients. And now what we actually have all been waiting for, I would like to introduce Professor Bob Mann from the Communications and Media Studies Department at Caldwell University. Bob is a longtime faculty member and always willing to work with us in the development office to make events like this possible. So thank you, Bob. And Bob might be best known for his podcast, Hot Media with Bob Mann. You can find it on Spotify or Apple Music or wherever you download podcasts. You're welcome, Bob, for the plug. Anyway, thanks for being here tonight with us, Bob. So the floor is all yours.
Well, thank you very much, Megan, and I appreciate the plug, as always. And one of the best opportunities I've ever had being asked to be involved in a lot of presentations in Caldwell University was in 2015, because it was the first time I got a chance to meet Beth Fowler, who of course I knew who she was, but she turned out to be one of the wittiest and most interesting people I ever interviewed. She's best known for playing Sister Jane Ingalls on the incredible hit show of Netflix, Orange is the New Black, but she's also, of course, performed on Broadway and in the movies, and as you know, is a Caldwell alum and one of the first Veritas Award winners. So here's just a brief look, before I get a chance to talk with Beth again, of a quick montage of her fantastic career.
Dan, if you can play that. Technology, you gotta love it. Virtual events, everyone.
Well, that's okay, Megan, because we've got her here anyway. So we can always roll it in if Dan has it in a little bit.
One moment.
Okay. And Beth, I guess that's just another example of how when anything from a technical end goes wrong, you just can't have any flop sweat, right? You just got to keep plowing right on it. That's what it was meant
Here
to
we are. Here we are.
How you doing?
I'm doing good.
It's
I got a
very,
little company here with me.
oh, very nice. Very nice.
Is
Okay,
she a
now
beauty?
let's
Thank
start
you,
that
Sister
forward.
Gerardine. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about how that all came to be, being one of the first winners. But I do want to talk a little bit about fame and about Orange is the New Black, because when we got together, and of course, last time in 2015, it was in front of a packed crowd in the Westervelt Lecture Hall. And so we were able to get laughs and things sailed along, which was great. You know, nothing virtual. But the thing is that at the time, we had a chance to have a lunch beforehand, and people just kept coming up to you and say, "Can you sign this? Oh, I just love you. Oh, I just love you. I just love you." And I asked you before we did this, I said, "Well, do you miss that?" But because it's Netflix, it never goes away, does it? It's
That's
a
right.
phenomenon.
That's right. It
Talk
does.
about the enduring appeal of the show. Why is Orange is the New Black something that, even though you went off a couple of years ago, you still have people going back, binging, finding it for the first
Mhm.
time? What is it about
Well,
that?
the thing that everybody was talking about at the time was about the aspect of inclusion. And at that time, that was just getting rolling. The transgender thing was not in the headlines all over the place. But I think it was just, it had a lot of heart it really brought out what we all look for today in the world, and that's empathy. The first attitude you would come to in encountering a women's prison is, oh, these women, you know, and then you learned about the women and how they got there and who got them there and what the prices they had to pay. And the culture created this whole system. And it was very, very touching and very funny and very human. And what I was really interested in when people would come up to me was to see the great diversity of the people who were talking to me. I remember the first time I was in ShopRite and this middle-aged couple came up and, you know, and I thought, what's this about? And they said, we love your show. And I said, you watch my show? And I said, yes. I don't know who I thought was watching, but I didn't think it was them. And it was really fun. And then I heard that the nuns at Caldwell were watching too. So, and it wasn't because of me, I'm sure. But it just had a universal appeal.
Yeah, when you think about how ahead of her time Laverne Cox was, and how much, you know,
yes,
the diversity of the cast. People talk about diversity and inclusion now and storylines that reflect people other than, you know, the mainstream or the white males. And this is a show that really had it. One thing that was odd though, because I teach a course at Caldwell called TV Show Genres, and it's about the business and the art of television. And Orange is the New Black would be nominated for years for Emmys as a comedy, and then they switched it to Emmys as a drama. You really were able to pull off that comedy drama balance almost to the point that people didn't know where to categorize that show. That's tough, right?
Well, they created a term for it. It became dramedy.
Dramedy, right.
And they were trying to establish a category for it, for dramedy, because that was the problem. We didn't know how, they didn't know how to name it, because it was very funny, but it was very touching and hard to watch sometimes.
Of course, you can't really talk about how things turned out for your character because it's a spoiler alert for so many people who've never seen it. My wife and I are watching The Wire from 2002 because we didn't pick up on it. And
that's another of Jenji Kohan's shows, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's David Simon. It's David Simon's show, the
yeah.
guy who had done Homicide: Life on the Street on NBC. But let's just talk a little bit about the beginning of the Veritas Awards. Getting one of the first how did that evolve? How were you contacted? Were you surprised to be chosen? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, of course, the fact that it didn't exist, I was very surprised.
Yeah, right. Hey, I didn't know existed, or it didn't.
It was very delightful, but I knew June Dwyer Castano, and she had invited me, in fact, very graciously. I don't remember what year it was, but she invited me to come up and do a concert because there were so many new buildings, but there was this new lovely little theater. I forget the name of it actually. And she thought it would be nice if an alumni would perform there. And I said, oh, gee, I used to do a club act. I'm not a concert singer. I mean, I don't do concert work. I used to have a club act, but I haven't done it in couple of decades. I said, let me think about it. So I did. And I contacted my very dear friend, accompanist and composer and arranger, David Crane. And we put together an evening. And it was really a wonderful project for me to do at that time. And then we went on to do it in other places. When I was doing Beauty and the Beast out in Los Angeles, we did it out there. I flew him out there and we performed at a cabaret in LA and did that show. So anyway, June and Greg followed my career for years. They saw me, I think they probably saw me at the Montclair Operetta Club before I ever got into the business. And it wasn't unusual for me to step out a stage door and see the two of them there. She never warned me, or, you know, and then over the years, they'd start bringing their sons. And then later on, the sons and their fiancés or girlfriends would join them. So I would have a whole passel of Castanos with me. And it was quite wonderful. So she watched my career progress. And she was a fan of mine. And I was a fan of hers. She was a magnificent gal. Truly an inspiration to so many people, as we all know. But that was very touching that that was an inspiration. And I'm very proud, I have to say, that that have been chosen to represent all these 100 women. I'm sure any one of them, they've all achieved greatness in their own careers. I think I'm here because I'm the one who's comfortable being on screen. And it possibly may have something to do with my having played nuns on the small and large screen over the years. I think that's maybe a contributing factor.
You say that there were some nuns who you had early on in your educational career who were a little bit of an inspiration for Sister Jane, just in terms of how she'd be and how she'd act and how she might interact or confront somebody.
Well, I had to perform what I was given on paper.
Of course,
but
I go with this
it was easy. I mean, first of all, I didn't have to do any research for this part. Right. Because I've lived with nuns, and my dearest friend is from childhood is a Sister of Charity, and I spent a lot of my life with her. But it was where was I?
About using any sisters you had.
Oh yes, yes. So I would use my memory of their behavior and their response to situations. It didn't always serve me though, because there were situations that they put me in that show that I don't think any of my friends ever had. But it was Sister Darcin, I might mention, who was my mentor, and she is the only acting teacher I have ever had. When I was in St. Mary's High School in Rutherford, she coached me through contest, debate, speech giving, and so forth, monologues, and if you recall, when I was with you in 2015, she was in the audience, and I got to spend some time with her. In fact, the last time I was in Caldwell, it was for her funeral.
So none of the sisters who ever taught you ended up in solitary confinement. So you didn't have that.
Not that I'm aware of.
But there actually was a sister, not one who taught you, or
yes, Sister Ardeth Platt.
Right, who was a social justice campaigner, warrior, went, to the barricades,
found the bomb,
and ended up, paying a bit of a price for that too. So there was that inspiration. So I guess even though you're reading what they're putting on the page, you also can bring a lot of that background to. Yes,
but also when you are doing a recurring role on a TV show, they write, once they get to know you and see how you handle material, they write for you. There's a writer responsible for your storyline. And I like to think that I brought stuff in that they acknowledged and wrote for to implement. There were moments that were very strong. For example, when I was in solitary confinement, and throughout the show, I had this miraculous medal around my neck, and I used to finger it every once in a while. This was the only jewelry she had. She had no accessories or anything. And when they put me in that cell, I wasn't allowed to have any jewelry. So they had removed it, and they closed the cell door, and I put my fingers up here. And that's when I realized I was totally alone physically. That medal was gone. But I knew I wasn't alone, but I was very fearful. It was quite a lot of wonderful stuff they wrote for me. It was really cool.
It's interesting. In the introduction, President Whelan talked about having people in his family who have been in show business, media, whatever you want to call it. This has been a tough time. Being a member of SAG-AFTRA, I get all of the literature from the union about how much people are suffering through the pandemic. It's tough being an actor at any time. I mean, it's a business where you can be a millionaire or a waiter for life. It's got 9% unemployment in the best of times, but this has been really tough on the acting community.
Yes, and also because actors very often are waiters, to supplement their income, and
right. They can't be waiters
jobs.
I never even thought about that.
Very, very difficult. We're all looking forward to it coming back, and it is coming back. They're already making plans and making announcements, theater by theater. The smaller theaters are starting to open now downtown.
talk a little bit about the reaction. We talked about reaction of people who are strangers who come up to you because you're on television and they recognize the person, and it seems almost surrealistic to them. But what about the thrill of a Broadway performance with a live audience? They may not even know you, as you once told me, outside the stage door because you were in heavy makeup, but that instant applause, there's 1,000 people who are really there. It's nothing like a TV
Yes.
audience of millions, but you've got thousands, and they're loving you, and they're standing, and there's applause not only at the end of the show, but after you do a number. How is that different from other media, like doing a movie where you're doing take after take from 15 angles, and there's no real feedback until the movie?
It couldn't be more different. It couldn't be more different. When you do a Broadway show, you rehearse for weeks, and you're drilled and all that. You go to work to do the movie, and you learn your words. They send it to you the week before. You learn the words. You go in, and there's no rehearsal. You just go in, and they stage it. They may have a little suggestion to make, or you can guess by the way they've staged it how to behave. But there were no. When you do a film, sometimes there's a little rehearsal. But when you do a series, it's just you. It's just you and the other girls. And we had such a wonderful, wonderful group of gals.
Oh, absolutely. And when you but just getting back really quickly to the live performance on the legitimate stage, that's got to be a rush to get that immediate
Yes.
instant.
It's why we do it. It's why we do it.
Right. The smell of the grease paint, the roar of the crowd, or the
Yes,
roar of the grease
it's,
paint, the smell of the crowd, whichever way you want to put it. When you talk about making movies, talk a little bit about Sister Act, because people see that over and over again. And of course, Whoopi Goldberg is still,
Well, I like to say
on the field.
I worked with Whoopi Goldberg for 5 months, and I'm here to tell about it.
Good. Yeah. Okay. Well, please tell.
It was just actually, it was a wonderful, wonderful time. A great bunch of ladies. And she never hid in her trailer. Sometimes you work with stars,
Mhm.
and you don't really see them until they come onto the set. Not Whoopi. She hung out with us. She was a reader. When we had a lot of downtime, someone would have books or puzzles, or somebody would be chatting and having a little conversation. But Whoopi was always with us. She read her books with us. Everybody had their own chair, and she was our cheerleader when we had those long, arduous days. I'm sure most of this audience has seen Sister Act at least once.
Right.
And those scenes in the church where the thousands of candles, it seemed to be thousands, it took them forever to light them. And we would all be sitting there waiting for it to be done. And so she would start trouble and just start horsing around and making jokes and making gags. And I thought to myself a couple of times and she was on the altar, and I thought, we're going to pay for this. This is going to, something really bad is going to happen. But she was so much fun and so creative and so quick and witty. And of course, the women I was with were also quite wonderful. Being with Maggie Smith, one of the gifts of that time, I didn't get to hang out with Whoopi at all, but I did hang out with Maggie Smith.
Mhm.
And Mary Wicks, and they became friends, and that was quite extraordinary. I can remember one night I had dinner. We were in Reno, shooting in Reno. We were there for a couple of weeks, and we had off the next day, so everybody wanted to go out, and we're in Reno, so we did. And I was at a dinner table with 2 other ladies who were big Broadway stars, Ruth Cobart, Susan Johnson, and Maggie Smith and Mary Wicks. And I'm sitting there and I'm going to myself, I'm pinching myself, but I was friends with them, but it was just at that table when it was the one time we were all together. And so the next day, the short version is the next day, we had off, and I called Maggie and I said, look, if Christmas was coming. And I said, I'm going to get a cab and go to the mall to get some stuff for Jack. And I wondered if you'd like to join me. And she said, oh, it would be fabulous. So I spent the day with Maggie Smith shopping at the mall, having lunch, and it just was amazing to me. That kind of thing, when that happens to you and you feel that you belong. I mean, it happened with one of the thrills of doing Orange is the New Black is when we went to the Screen Actors Guild's award ceremonies and to the Emmys, that it didn't occur to me. I knew I was going to be with all the stars, but it didn't occur to me that they knew me.
Oh, yeah.
They all watch it.
I know.
And so when you're standing there with a couple of the girls and Jamie Lee Curtis goes, "My girls," and comes running over and hugging us, kissing us, and Meryl Streep wants to get her picture taken with us. And
You
it
should
was
blow them off. Then you could really
crazy.
feel like a star. That should be like, oh, no, I'm very sorry.
It was so fun. It was so
photo,
fun.
please. Well,
But they were all, I mean, the theater brings you things like that. I did a play that Woody Allen wrote and he directed, and there were 6 of us, and it was one of the hardest jobs I've ever done. He called me Miss Dublin, and but because he's basically a film actor, he expects the dynamic of the interaction of the actors to happen the first day of rehearsal. And I've got to tell you the story. He hired people that had a great background in comedy, and but we were the people that he wanted. So we had a read through at the table the first day, and of the script, and it was pretty fun. It was really pretty cool, and we were all sitting, I guess, feeling pretty satisfied with ourselves, all getting along and getting one another's number. And Woody looked up and said, "You people seem to think that this is a comedy." And we all went, well, isn't that what, I mean, it was a terrible story, but it was loaded with laughs. It was full of comedy. And we had to spend the next month trying to deal with that, that he was trying to take the comedy out of it, and he'd written it. It was sitting right in our faces. So strange things happen like that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, you have to work for directors and all the rest. Speaking of Maggie Smith, though, my favorite line, were you a Downton Abbey fan?
Oh, yes. Oh, of course.
Dowager, and somebody
the
said,
Maggie Smith game?
Yeah, well, no, just the fact that she said, somebody at the table says, "Well, we can do that on the weekend." And she goes, "What's a weekend?"
Well, there's a game, that if you watch Downton Abbey, and everybody has a glass of wine, and every time Maggie has one of those bon mots, you take a sip.
Oh,
by the end of the episode.
By the end of that. Speaking of a glass of wine, by the way, people should get ready in about 5 minutes. Yes. I have been given the honor of not only toasting you, but all of the alums and Veritas winners and Caldwell in general. So if you'd like to go to your cabinets and get something of your favorite, in about 5 minutes, we will be doing that. We will not be playing the Maggie Smith game, though, because apparently, according to the on my phone here, the rundown, there is a social time right after I finish with this. So,
okay.
So you don't know.
Can I take a minute and give a shout out while I'm on here with everybody, if you all don't mind? I do want to acknowledge that Dottie Cacchio and Florence Mercurio Riggs, I believe that they're both watching, and they are fellow recipients, and they were my bros, my sisters in the music department at Caldwell. And also Maria Del Vecchio, who was not given an award and should be for at least one thing. She was a great pianist and accompanist. And I noticed too, Carmela Buccieri's picture up there. She was a real sweetheart. She was a senior when I was a freshman, and I just adored her. And I'd also like to give a shout out to my fellow awardees, Sister Elizabeth Michael and Sister Amelia, whom I assume are both watching in that little group tonight. Seeing you all there and seeing all that's going on tonight just brought me back. Caldwell meant a great deal to me in my life. And it was always a safe haven. I went there expecting to become a sister. I had my interview with the Reverend Mother, and but I changed my mind midstream, and they were always very gracious and loving to me. And I knew where the buck stopped. You were expected to do your best, and it just was always an inspiration. And we were becoming adults. I grew up at Caldwell College for Women. And whenever I go back, that feeling, that atmosphere is still there. And it is because of the sisters. And it's because of people like Nancy Blattner, who was just amazing what she did. And I'm very excited that the current president, whom I had a wonderful chat with, I just know that he's going to be making that same atmosphere be present all throughout the years. It's very, very heartwarming for me tonight, and I really appreciate this honor very, very much.
Well, Beth, we can't think of a better way for you to have finished that up. That's just a wonderful set of sentiments. I haven't fallen off the chair there. I just needed to go over and reach this. Maybe
I know this looks like champagne, but it's water.
Oh, okay. Well, this looks like wine because it is. So it's the one opportunity, you know, Caldwell gave me to drink today while technically working. So at least that they know of. So I really want to toast you. It's great to talk with you again. And
thank you. Same here, Bob. Thank you.
Really somebody who brings so much back to the campus and to Caldwell University and to everybody who I am currently working with, going on more than 30 years here, and to presidents both current and past who may be on the Zoom call right now, all the Veritas winners and all the Sisters of St. Dominic. Join me, please, in a toast to the great Beth Fowler. Beth, thank you so very much.
To you all. To you all.
Lori, back to you.
So thank you, Beth and Bob. That was just really, really fun. I mean, I could probably sit here